And we are live. Hello, everybody. Just wanted to say thank you again for showing up and watching us. Every day this week, we're going to be going live at 6 p.m. Next week, we will too. We have a different kind of group next week. We're all going through this coronavirus together. We're adapting as we're going. What we want to do as a campaign, we're blasting a lot of informational stuff so folks know where to go to seek help and all that. But then these interviews at night, we're trying to have different perspectives on things. And one of the things right now that is deeply different than what it usually is we're missing baseball. And most folks know my background in baseball. And we have a very special guest today, former Iowa native, born in Sioux City, the pride of Dallas Center Grimes, Tony Watson. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. That's a great intro. The pride of Dallas Center Grimes.
Yeah. Well, first, you're safe with your family. I think let's look at the beginning of the month. The beginning of the month, you take family, move across the nation to go to spring training because you guys are in the Phoenix area. Right. And what was it like to start off and get going, and then kind of that transition into, oh crap, we got to stop?
Yeah, so we live in Florida. We live down in Sarasota, Florida. So we go to Phoenix. Our spring training I'm with the Giants now. So the San Francisco Giants is in Scottsdale. So we go to Scottsdale February 1st, usually just kind of get things figured out. We have a couple small children, so we get them in school and get everything settled in and before spring actually kicks off. So spring kicks off usually around Valentine's Day, and everything was normal. Everything was good. We were just going along. And then, like you said, games started a little bit earlier this year. We were playing games in February, and then probably the 1st of March is when we started hearing about COVID-19 and coronavirus, and it was just what you hear on the news and everything like that. And then we had a team meeting. We had the doctors came in and sat us down. We talked about symptoms, signs, and then honestly, the Bay Area was one of the first to go into lockdown. So it kind of set in real quick with us that this is nothing to joke about. And we were during that meeting, they kind of discussed, this is the statistics, and these are what the models are doing, and but no, they discouraged autographs with fans, the close contact, the selfies, leaning in with the selfies, and then oddly enough, no high fives in the dugout. So it was that was when the elbow to elbow started with everything, and
bringing back the breath.
Yeah. It was kind of joking around at first, and then it was like, oh crap, this is pretty serious. And and of course, naturally, the next morning it was like a dozen 6-year-old kids screaming for autographs, and you're got to tell them no, and they're like, oh come on, and it's like, no, sorry, we can't do it, COVID. It's like, oh come on, and then like 2 days later there was nobody out there. So it was like It all happened so fast, and then everything with Rudy Gobert happened, and that kind of accelerated everything. I think the NBA shut down, and then for us it was, hey, we had an off day the day that we have 2 off days in spring training, and one of them just happened to be on the day that they shut spring training down and canceled the game. So we were kind of in limbo, and then we just everybody just kind of hung out and tried to figure out what was going on. And then over the next 72 hours, it was flights home, shipping cars, packing families up, getting out of rentals, trying to figure out the logistics of getting your family home safe and being wherever you need to be.
And can you tell folks too a little bit, like spring training folks, or at least minor leagues, I don't know the big leaguers, they don't get paid during spring training, and so just kind of how did they all deal with that?
Yeah, so you don't get your salary in spring training. You get per diem, you get meal money daily, and major league camp is a little bit better than minor league camp, but minor league camp, honestly, they were packed up and they got sent home. They were, you didn't even have an option. They were get out of here, find your flight home as fast as possible, and get to your home city and be safe and get in your home and be sheltered. And major league camp, we hung out in the complexes where were open for a little bit, but then it was, 5 in and only at a time. That was the max. And we were washing hands in, washing hands out, and they did a deep clean. And, so you had people in the suits running around cleaning. And honestly, it was pretty wild times there for 24 hours, 48 hours. And then finally, I think guys realized that, hey, this is pretty serious. Let's get our families home and pack up. Because at first it was, okay, this is going to be a 2-week thing.
Right.
And it was, okay, no, this is going to be, then San Francisco shut down. And my family, we had a rental up in San Francisco. So, we were about to drive up there and just hang out there. And because you could have the option to go to your home city and work out at your stadium. So that sounded like a good option for us. And then literally like that afternoon you drove home and on the news you saw it was like San Francisco's closed down. So it was like, no, we're not going to San Francisco. So, it was wild, but crazy, and everybody's going through it and everybody's dealing with it their different ways. But that was kind of a glimpse into what it was like for a baseball guy for, 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah. What are teams kind of talking about now, and kind of how are you training right now also?
Yeah, so the training's difficult. That was another thing that was discussed with the complexes being open, available. Then it was well, we're not going to have our staff here because we don't want our staff to be around this if somebody's got it. And then of course somebody down in Cincinnati's clubhouse got it, I think, and then that kind of shut the whole thing down with the clubhouse attendance. And there's a lot of people in and out of the building that make a complex run. So I think that the safest thing was to just shut them down, and they did. And now everybody's home, and there's no report date. So you're kind of a fine line because, we were so far into spring training, we're starting pitchers. For people that don't know, you start off with 1 inning, and then the next outing is 5 days later. It's going to be 2 innings for the starting pitchers, and you build up. That's why spring training's so long. The reliever, you only have to throw 1 inning, and you can be ready after a couple of outings and just refine and retune your pitches. And starters, they need to be built up and get the pitch counts up, and so they take 3-4 weeks to get their 5. They got to get up to 5 innings. Some of them get up to 6 innings before we can start the season. And so a lot of those guys were starting to ring that bell. It was 5 innings, and it was, they were going to have one more outing at 5 innings, and then they tone it back, and then we go into the season. And that's how far into spring training we were. And now it's, they just put a stop on everything. So those are the guys, those are the ones that we have to figure out how to, they're trying to figure it out their own way. Are they throwing bullpens right now at their house? But then what do you, this is one of the things we talked about was like, how many times does a person lick their fingers when they play catch to get a grip?
Exactly. And
you're playing catch with each other? Or how many times are you spitting on the ground around a turtle and BP? Or it's just crazy how often you take things for granted, but there's germs going back and forth a lot and close contact. And so me personally, I'm thrown into a net at home.
Okay.
I'm not risking it right now. I'm just in the backyard and keeping it loose.
What type of net? Because here's the reason why I'm asking. So I'm in Sioux City by myself here in my home, and I, for whatever reason, Saturday night, I went down a rabbit hole of mechanics of YouTube videos. I found something that I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I was missing in my mechanics. It was a hip thing. I was watching a Trevor Bauer mechanical discussion, and I was like, oh my God, I want to try that out. And so I went down to Target and I saw they had one, but it was like a youth one. And I was like, I wanted just to throw in just for the sake of doing it. So what type?
Yeah, I think I've gone down the rabbit hole, unfortunately, a couple times, some late nights after a bad outing. You never know what happens, but yeah. A couple of years ago, I did the Amazon, and I just looked, and I honestly bought it because one of my former minor league teammates was on the box, and so he was selling it. Gorkys Hernandez was on the box. So I was like, you know what? I played with Gorkys for a while, and I'm going to buy his thing. And so I bought, I think it's like a sports net or something. It's pretty cheap.
I'll check it out.
I've had it for a couple of years.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, for folks who are interested to ask a question, put them in the comments. We'll ask. We got our first question already from Paul. He asked whether you're a front runner for the closer job because his fantasy team desperately needs some saves.
No, I don't know if you should be drafted a fantasy team yet, Paul. There's a lot of variables out there that are unknown, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. We have a really young bullpen. It feels like it's been ages ago that we were even together in a camp and
Right.
trying to build the chemistry and everything. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely the veteran guy down there, and I accept that and know that. So we'll see how it goes. Roles wise, I don't know. We'll see.
You're going into your 9th year.
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it happened fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's been amazing to watch your career and look behind you. You got the Pittsburgh. You came up with the Pirates, and then you got traded to the Dodgers.
Right.
And you got to pitch in the World Series.
Yeah.
2 or 3 wins.
I had 2 wins.
2 wins. Yeah.
Snuck 2 out. I snaked 2.
Yeah, well, hey.
Yeah.
You know how many I have I think 14-10 pitching record, and they were all like, I threw like 5 innings or in long relief, and we ended up scoring 7 runs in an inning. They're like, get JD out.
Yeah, that's like your baseball stories though. Like you were like, oh, I threw a CG shutout and I also hit 4 homers. You had just a phenomenal. You're unreal games and stat lines over there. Like your box scores must have been stuff in the stats. Paul, you should draft JD. That's who you should. Yeah, the World Series was. I mean, just a great experience. And funny thing about the wins is that I was lined up for. I tell this story a lot because I say he jinxed it, but I threw 1 pitch in game 2. And got a double play, and that was my night. That was it. That's the life of a left-handed reliever. And I got a double play, and then we scored 3 runs or something, 2 runs in the bottom half of the inning, took the lead. So I was in line for the win. Didn't even think anything of it. I don't care about that at the time. You just wanted to figure out a way to win the World Series game. And Yu Darvish came and stood next to me like the 8th or 9th inning, and Kenley Jansen was pitching, and I think it was the 8th inning because he was in, and he pitched his inning. He came out, and you was like, "Hey, 1 pitch, and you're in line for the win." And I'm like, "Huh?" And then they like registered with me, and I was like, "No, what? You can't say that. Like, it's just like baseball karma, It's not good." And then 9th inning, Marwin Gonzalez hit a homer off Kenley, and I was just shaking my head like, "You jinxed it, pal." They were talking about it on the TV. I was like, "Oh, that's it."
I remember. I was like, "Oh, Tony's got it. This is his win. This is his win." Well, we got a question from Chuck Offenberger.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about who Chuck is first?
Chuck is my grandma's brother, Uncle Chuck.
Here in Iowa.
He and Carla are hopefully tuned in. Prayers up for Carla, by the way. She's battling a tough thing, and she's really fighting hard. So thinking about you, Carla.
Chuck asks, when you were back at dear old Nebraska U, would you have figured then that JD would wind up doing something like running for Congress? Now, to be fair, I'm older, so I was on my way out. Were you there? What was your freshman year?
So 2003 was I graduated high school in 2003. So 2004 baseball season was my freshman season.
Okay, so I was out because that was after my 5th year. So that would have been after I graduated.
No, yeah, and I was trying to just run it through. Like we must have just met through. We have a lot of mutual friends. Some of the older guys that he played with, and but you started. Honestly, when I first met him, Chuck, at Nebraska, no. But then we had a beer in Seattle when I was up there playing.
Yeah.
And you were up there, and you said something about this. Like you said, I think I'm going to go back and run for politics. And I said, no chance.
No, that wouldn't have happened.
And then here you are. You're doing it. But I think when I really knew you were going to be successful is when you were living with Simokitis. You guys didn't have a TV, and you talked about you would drink scotch at night and do the crosswords.
So folks who are following this, it was 2000, the winner of 2010, first spring of 2011, my roommate in college, Joe Simikitis, he made it to AAA with the Cubs. He was just finishing up his career and back to school. And he ended up, I think he was an assistant or some sort of assistant. And so I decided I quit. I was a paralegal. I was like, you know what? I got one good year left in this arm, which I still feel like it still got one good year. And so I went back to Lincoln and I trained there. And then I ended up getting a good offer in Germany. And actually, I know a couple folks in Germany are going to be watching this in the morning because it's night there. And so I got to play in Zolingen. And that was not too many people in their 30s got to live with their best friend for a few months. And that was a special time. So
yeah, you guys sounded like you having, it was just like the simplest life, but you guys were just killing it and having fun. And it was like, yeah, this is great. These two got no TV. It was at a time when social media wasn't what it is now. And
oh man, I'm so glad social media wasn't around in college. You know, here's the thing. So when we all lived together, there was a baseball house at 1012 Charleston. Did you live there at all?
I did. I lived there,
okay.
Yes.
So it was much cleaner when we were there. Once
yeah,
I left, it went south. But when we lived there, there was none of us had cell phones. I think maybe Riddle had a cell phone, and so we had a landline. And I just remember, like, you'd go home and check your messages. And
yes, I remember that landline. I remember. Yeah, perfect.
yeah.
I've got the visual right in my head. It was right there on top of the entertainment center, and you walked in.
Absolutely. So my cousin has a question for you, Michael Scholten. Oh yeah, you guys met. He brought his boys out.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yep. So will he throw at Astros this year for stealing the World Series ring?
I don't think I should answer that. I think I'll plead the fifth. But we actually don't have them in interleague, so that's been my way out.
There you go.
But yeah, that's tough. It's tough that we were just talking about the World Series in 17. They were the one that was when it all happened, and that was a difficult situation. I mean, I'll just dive into it because people have been asking, and we had some good friends on that team, and unfortunately it went down, and there were some really, really good World Series games that year, and
yeah,
it makes you wonder on some of the pitches for sure. But the biggest thing I think is it's been put out in the open, and people know about it, and the discipline was set out, and hopefully going forward it'll never happen again. But definitely unfortunate, and COVID comes and saves the Astros day. So it'd be interesting to see how it all would have unfolded. That's for sure.
Yeah. Not to make light of COVID by any means. It's difficult.
Right.
We're all adjusting.
Absolutely.
But, going to the left side of the screen, you're the Pirates jersey. So what year did you make the All-Star team? Was that 13?
So the All-Star team happened in 2014. Yeah.
14. Okay. So do you want to talk about that a little bit? And I'll tell you my version of it.
Yeah. So it was the Minnesota. It was in Minnesota. It was in Minneapolis.
Right.
It was so it was close to home. Like JD said, I was born in Sioux City, St. Luke's. But I was my dad was a football coach. Got a job down in Dallas Center Grimes, tiny school in 1987 when we moved down there. But yeah, so it's 3.5 hours, depending on who's driving, I guess, from Des Moines area to Minneapolis. And so it was cool. It was quick. Family got to come up, and really, as a left-handed reliever that's not a closer, you pretty much have to have a lucky horseshoe to get in that thing. And
right.
I was fortunate that Mike Matheny, the Cardinals manager, was the manager, and it was back at a time when the managers were still making their picks personally. So Pirates and Cardinals had a lot of good matchups that year in the first half, and I had a great first half and pitched a lot of games against the Cardinals. So Mike Matheny, I was exposed to Mike Matheny a lot, and he picked me. So I was forever grateful to him for that. But awesome experience, something we talked about earlier. This is going to be my 9th year. I would have never guessed I'll be 35 in May, but 26-year-old making his debut. It's you're not expecting to go make a long career. It's guys that make a long career, they're busting in at 20, 21 nowadays. So a lot of good things happen for me. A lot of handled a lot of the right cards, like right situations, and just tried to make the most of it. But I was a baseball fan growing up, so seeing some of those guys, it was Jeter's last All-Star game, so that was something I'll always remember. And just being around those guys and guys you compete with for sure across the diamond and have respect for, but just to share a locker room, a clubhouse with them, pick their brains, get to know them. I remember I played, nobody had anybody to play catch with, and I looked at this guy as Tim Hudson. I'm like, hey, do you want to play catch? He's like, sure. And it was like, Huddy at the time was, on his way out, and he had a great career. And I'm like, do you want to walk? Walk means like, do you want to go out? Because you don't want to, when you're playing catch with somebody, you don't want to like
high school
you don't
again.
want to walk and think you're going like 200, 300 feet. And this guy's like, what's this kid doing? I don't want to play catch as far as the All-Star game, kid. Like, come in here. So I let him walk, and of course we played catch at like 70 feet, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's not pitching tonight. I'm going to pitch tonight. How am I going to get myself ready? And I warmed up. Matheny, they kind of script out the game, and hey, you're going to split an inning with so-and-so. And it was like, okay. And then, naturally it just never works to script. Nothing ever works to script that night. And so I ended up throwing one out.
Don't mention. I'll mention my part of the story if you don't mind. So I don't know if I've ever told you this. I'm so excited that you made it. I go to my neighborhood bar when I'm living in Seattle, and it's a very unique bar. It's a hipster dive bar, but they have a Hawkeye pennant in the corner. It's the only sports thing in there. It's a bunch of musicians that when they're not touring, they work there and stuff. And so, but the owner is originally from Webster City, Iowa. Okay. And so I go, but they always shows the games. And so they put it on the screen and so I'm telling everybody in the bar, I'm buying pictures for people. And I'm like, my buddy's going to pitch. And then they're like, oh, it cuts the commercial. And like I think they have you warming up, or somebody sees you warming up or mentions that you're warming up. And so I'm like ecstatic. And I'm like, everybody, my buddy's going to pitch. And then you get in there, you throw one pitch. First swing, guy hits it out to left field, right?
Right.
It flies out to left field.
Yep.
And everyone's like quiet because the manager comes, or everyone's excited. Manager comes out, takes you out. Yeah. Everyone's quiet. I'm like, the most efficient pitcher in Major League All-Star history.
That is great. Yeah. I had so many. It was Jose Abreu with the White Sox. And so the thing about the All-Star game is if you notice after like the fifth inning, everybody's just trying to hit the ball as far as they can. Everybody wants a homer. And then as soon as like somebody gets something generated, then they'll start hitting behind runners and doing stuff and trying to score a run, because it's usually a close game. And so a slider is my third best pitch. And I was throwing to Miguel Montero, who was with the Diamondbacks at the time. And he comes out, he's a Venezuelan guy. And he's like, all right, Poppy, we're going first pitch slider. This guy's swinging for the moon. And it's like, what? Slider? Okay, whatever. I'll just go with it. And of course, it was like the right pitch, because if it would have been a fastball, that thing would have been like the fourth deck. And it would have been the least efficient pitcher in Major League All-Star game history, because it would have been one pitch and a homer. So, it was definitely something that I always remember, though. And
all right,
great experience.
We got another question here from Alex. If you look back to your time in the minor league baseball, could you even imagine having the level of uncertainty in your life in terms of pay, et cetera, that this would have brought? And what are your feelings on what needs to be done to minor leaguers moving forward? And I think this is a good question. I also want to, I'll piggyback off this question when you answer this.
Yeah, that's a good question. So he was asking what it was like for me personally in the minor leagues, or what I think about it now?
And like, I mean, I never made a dime in any of my baseball outings, and you don't make it until your second year in AA if you don't have a decent signing bonus.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I think today they passed that MLB is going to support these guys, through the end of May. I think it was through the end of May, and it's going to be $400 a week, which is less than unemployment, but it's something. And a lot of these guys, they can't file unemployment because, they're out. I know a lot of the guys with the Giants were doing stuff like DoorDash, Uber, stuff to just try to make a buck. And try to make ends meet until, they've got rent payments. Some of them got wives. A lot of them have kids. Like you said, when you make it to AA, your pay starts to go up a little bit. But honestly, for $400 a week for short season guys, that's a pay raise for some of those guys. So minor league living's not easy. Yeah, it's a lot of peanut butter and jellies. It's a lot of host families.
Yeah.
And it's these small towns that need that for the summer, and it's a great experience. It really is, if you really dive in and get, dig in and get to know the people. And it's definitely not for everybody. It weeds people out quick. But yeah, it's definitely a tough time. So I'm happy to see that today, that they're going to have a little bit something coming each week, and at least for a couple months, and then hopefully we can figure this thing out.
And that leads me into the next question. Minor league baseball, they're looking to cut some teams. In fact, there's 3 teams here in Iowa. And I'm pretty vocal that I'm against that. I'm a baseball fan, but it's also, you had a lot of the towns in these minor league towns. They're small towns, and it's getting harder and harder to live in rural America. And so I don't know if you want to talk about that at all, or what you're hearing about things.
Yeah. So I have a soft spot for rural America because that's what I was brought up in. I mean, I love rural America. I lived in Dallas Center, Iowa, and I thought my upbringing,
which is different now than it was back then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still, my wife and I were just talking about it the other day, how, it's, you're riding your bike out and the street lights are on, and it's like, all right, time to come home, and everybody's just like trusting, and you just go home and you're up at the park and you're just playing. And we did summer rec. We were just talking about what the kids do to stay busy, and what, everybody's at home now. And but yeah, back to the point of the minor league teams. What 3 teams are getting cut in Iowa, if I don't mind me asking?
Burlington, Clinton, and oh crap.
So it's like the Midwest League, so low A.
Yeah. The low, yeah.
Yeah. So but those are like old franchises that have been there forever. And we touched on it earlier about like clubhouse guys and people that make the complexes work, and what these teams mean to these small towns. And the faces change every year. There's going to be a new manager, there's going to be new players, there's going to be the hot new prospect, but the people that are coming, like ushering, the guy, and I'm thinking about like our guys in Lynchburg, Virginia, is where I spent one summer. Hot as hell. And the guy was the clubby, and he was the groundskeeper at the same time. We had the PA guys, guys work their way up. The radio guys are college kids that are working their way up, and then you'll see them. That I have our PR guy in San Francisco, Mike Passanisi, was the first job out of college, he was with our Altoona Curve team in AA 10 years ago, and now he's worked his way up, and now he's with the San Francisco Giants. He came in the year and a half ago, and I was like, Passanisi, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm interviewing for a job here, and I'm like, oh, like it all connects. So it's like baseball is one big fraternity, and these teams mean so much and to so many people, and but it is business, and they're trying to unfortunately cut some teams, and there's just so many players, and trying to get roster fillers and guys moving up, and it's definitely a touchy subject, and it's unfortunate because there's so many relationships that you build. And I mean, I still talk to people from State College, and I know guys leaving passes and tickets for the host families all the time in different cities, and people from their minor league stops. So it's not easy living by any means, but it's fun living. It's great memories, and it's part of life that shapes you for sure.
Quad City River Bandits was the third one that I couldn't. So
I've heard they have a great stadium too.
Yeah,
right under the bridge there.
Well, I think they had some flooding last year.
Oh, really?
But a couple more questions, and then we'll let you go. Major League Baseball is, well, who knows if it will end up this year, or maybe it might be next year, Field of Dreams. And so, like, as an Iowan, it's a little tough to see them build a stadium for one game in Dyersville and then cut 3 teams.
Right. Yeah, that's tough.
But
Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I think it's amazing. I think I'm all for it. I want baseball to be more interactive and engaging. It's tough in some of these communities where it's really hard to find a game. To be able to watch a game on TV with blackout dates and all that stuff. And so any way we can get fans engaged more, I'm all for that.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. Any way we can keep people engaged and keep new ways to get games. It's going to be logistically, it's going to be a lot just to get. I think they're coming from Chicago, right? So Yankees and White Sox.
Yep.
They're supposed to be the Yankees and White Sox. So just to let you guys in, it's like the clubhouse guy is going to bring all the laundry over, and I think they'll probably fly in the morning, and like the video equipment, the instant replay stuff, and the making the mound sure the mound is 60 feet 6 inches, and it's just crazy stuff like that. But as far as the game, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think Field of Dreams, personally, I'm from Iowa, small town Iowa. My high school field bordered a cornfield, so it's like I relate so well to this. I love that movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. I think it'll be awesome TV. I think they'll do a good job of capturing small town Iowa, and I think ESPN's probably got the game.
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. So I think they'll do a good job of that. And it's just great pub for Dyersville. I think Iowa in general, Field of Dreams. And then the game's going to go on. I wasn't a part of it, but they started doing that Little League World Series game a couple years ago, and the guys.
Oh, that's right.
The guy said it was a lot of fun. Go and interact with all the little kids. So, this will be cool. I don't know what interactions they'll have, but the Yankees in a cornfield game. I mean, that's pretty cool. That's about as American as it gets.
Exactly. Two more questions. First one, the new rules. One of the rules that affects relievers is a 3-batter minimum. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, is that I feel like that's an anti-Jesse Orosco.
Nice name drop right there. Actually, that is a fantastic name drop.
I would kill for that career.
Unbelievable career. I think he's got the all-time appearance leader, Jesse Orosco. Just talk about the one pitch out guy. That's what you need right there. Most efficient career of all time. But it's going to be. So we had in camp, we had a guy named Jerry Blevins, who's made a great career off being a left-handed. They call him loogies, left-handed one-out guy. That comes in and listen. Every middle of the order playoff team that's a really good team has at least one, maybe two middle of the order left-handed bats that need to be disposed of in the later innings. So these guys, like Jerry, like Jesse Orosco, they had great careers because they got really good hitters out. Everybody at the major leagues is really good, but these guys were like hitting middle of the order, driving in 100 runs a year, which is just incredible seasons. And I personally, it's hard. I get it, but at the same time, there's a guy in September that gets called up because his team's in the playoffs for pinch running because he's really fast.
Right.
There used to be guys that had a wipeout slider that were left-handed pitchers or wipeout curveballs that got called up in September because the team's like, well, let's see if this guy might stick and we can use him in the playoffs for what I just said, the middle of the order bat. Those guys aren't going to have a shot anymore because they can't get righties out. I think it's going to put managers in situations that they've never been in. We were talking about it before spring training got canceled. It was, what if your horse is out there and you've got, hypothetical, you got your Twins jersey on. So you've got, Max Kepler and Jorge Polanco, and then Cruz is back there behind him or whatever. So you got the lefties and then the big righty back there, and you got the righty on the mound. Well, you want to bring your lefty in. Well, he's got to face 3 hitters and you don't want him to face Cruz. So
right.
you get him for Kepler and Polanco, and then Cruz is sitting there as their 3rd hitter, and it's like, well, that's danger.
Right.
So it's just we'll see how it all works. The thing that you can get around is that if the inning ends, and then it's restart.
Oh.
So
Okay.
he doesn't have to come back out if the inning ends. So just get the guy to hit into a double play, I guess.
That's it. I proudly wear my Brad Radke jersey. He was my favorite pitcher in '97, I believe. the Twins only won 68 games and he got 20 wins that year. And anybody who can do something like that, like just, he was a grinder. He was my favorite pitcher to watch.
That's a great jersey.
Last question from Barbara Watson. And she asks to tell us about your purple car.
Oh, great question, Aunt Barb. I did see the purple car. Did you ever see me driving that thing?
I don't think so.
Now this is the car I had from high school. So I wasn't able to drive when I was 16 because I was 15 and I had a school permit. Do they still do that? School permit. And I got a couple speeding tickets and a couple small wrecks. So I wasn't off to a good start. And I wasn't able to drive until I was 18. So as punishment, my mother, who was living at the time, she had this old plum Taurus, like it was a 96 plum Taurus, plum cloth interior as well, plum on plum. It was pretty sick. And it changed tints in the sunlight and how we moved. And
oh, wow.
So yeah, I rocked that. That was my punishment for she said, I'll get you a car. And she kept the car. And then I got that at 18 and I drove it over to Lincoln. And you will respect this, but we used to pile in that thing and we'd go to the Hewitt at 5 o'clock and eat and we'd parallel park that thing at the meters. And it was a great car. It had a great run. And I drove that thing for 6 years.
Wow.
And then, yeah, it probably had 150,000 miles on it. It was done. A lot of trips back and forth from Des Moines to one summer trip up to Okoboji up in your neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, she was everywhere. So it was good.
That's awesome. No, I had a similar car and I remember Simo and I were going on a road trip and he slammed my door hard and the radio just went out.
Oh, Simo. What a guy.
Yeah. Anyhow, well, thank you so much for your time. For everyone who's watching, I appreciate this. As we are all going through this together, we're going to have different series or different speakers, and we don't have a name for this yet. We'll figure out something. But tomorrow night, if you've watched, and a lot of people are watching Tiger King, we have the woman who's from Ames going to be on talking about her experience and her experience working with tigers, her experience after that, and the documentary, and then how her family's dealing with the coronavirus, just like everybody else. And so, Tony, I tell folks all the time, you're a phenomenal pitcher. You're even a better guy. And I appreciate you coming on, and best of luck and best wishes to you and your family.
Oh, thanks so much, JD. I appreciate you having me on. Good luck with everything. You're doing a great job. And hey, everybody stay safe out there. Wash your hands. So this thing's serious. So it's good.
All right.